This week's episode was brought to you by Danielle Napier, Ethan, Chief O'Keefe, LKP, and Tim Hacker of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast. Thank you, Danielle Napier, Ethan, Chief O'Keefe, LKP, and Tim Hacker of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast. It's with the generous support of listeners and collaborators like you that helps keep our high-capacity electromagnet array cooled at operating temperatures, which would give even a Siberian Yeti goosebumps, so we can accelerate the liquid mercury in our tubes to relativistic speed and conjure fallen angels, which help us write the show. If you would like to contact the Nephilim using hyper-expensive technology or just hear the second half of this episode, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 would not only get you the extended reality bending version of this episode, you'll get the extended reality bending version of all our episodes in convenient RSS format compatible with your podcast player of choice. But that's not all. I'll send you a 5x5-inch sticker of our big bunny cover art, guaranteed to connect you to an egregore that imparts good luck and more satisfying outcomes in bed, in addition to the secret keys to our Discord server, where we live stream sacrificial rites every day at sunset to keep our shadow overlords drunk on the etheric energy of our vital fluids in exchange for fame and fortune. If you don't mind missing out on our daily sacrifices to the Illuminati, or would just rather spend your $5 on a medium-sized TV dinner, please consider giving us a like, subscribe, or share on your social media page, because that boosts our signal further into the astral mind soup of the interwebs. Also, don't forget to visit our sponsor at crypticchronicles.com, where you can find a bunch more free content guaranteed to bake your noodles stiff. Speaking of which, on this week's episode, we check your tinfoil hat at the door and ask for the password, because we're joined once again by Tim Hacker, the mastermind behind the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, to accelerate mainstream science fact and popular conspiracy mythology to relativistic speeds, crash them together, and see what happens, because this week we're discussing CERN and the Large Hadron Collider in a way guaranteed to open a black hole, which may even destroy the podcast time continuum forever. We begin the free episode by discussing the impressive technical specification of CERN's Large Hadron Collider and how it arrives at discovering new particles for physics research. At various places along the track, we collide this information with popular paranoias and conspiracy speculation about the nefarious secret projects that CERN is actually up to, which involve time travel, human sacrifice, the Goddard tunnel opening ceremony, demons, the Hindu god Shiva, and of course, aliens. In the extended episode, we go into the details about a tarot deck created by one of CERN's sponsored artists, who is well known for her visionary masterpieces about conspirituality. With Tim as our guide, we also discuss portals to other dimensions, time travel, the old gods, the elite's attempt to resurrect the biblical Nimrod, and go through our favorite Mandela Effects, guaranteed to make you doubt your own memories of the past. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
So it's like 5 billionaires stuck in a submarine?
Yeah, and one of them owns the company or like works for it. His partner bailed at the last minute. It was like he wanted to have it inspected by a third party, and the guy's like, no, we don't need that guy to come in and look at this. It works fine. It's like a piece of junk they built in their garage.
This sounds like a really bad lawyer joke. Like, you know, what do you call 5 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
Free market.
A good start.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we do more than yell at you about the anti-cosmic satanic invasion being unleashed by unwitting physics researchers of a high-tech research laboratory in Geneva. Nay, we unravel with painstaking care the tenuous connections between the cutting-edge science, occultism, and popular mythology which surround the largest particle accelerator on the planet and its reality-bending experiments, which some theorize have retroactively altered the fabric of chronological history. Because this week, we're discussing the truth behind CERN and the Large Hadron Collider. I'm your host, Hack Rabbit, otherwise known as Luke Madrid. I'm joined this week by the Mandela Matrix manipulator, Mari Sama.
What's up, y'all?
The Miskatonic Mind Field Generator, Melikor 5.
Hello.
And the Wizened Witch of the Wilds, Heka Astra.
Hello, WWW.
She caught it. This week, we're joined once again by the prestigious host and creator of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, the miraculous Mr. Tim Hacker, who swooped down from his heavenly abode to help write 80% of the show this week and finally got us talking about the LHC. Thank you and welcome to the show, Mr. Tim Hacker.
Thanks, glad to be here. I hope I'm on the right timeline.
Me too.
After the show, please check out www.crypticchronicles.com to check out his amazing content. A little bit of a warning before we get started. This episode is both an exploration of mainstream science and popular conspiracy mythology surrounding both CERN and its LHC. On the whole rabbit, we feel comfortable talking about, quote, conspiracy theories because they're a glimpse into modern mythology, and we can always take it with a grain of salt. In short, we're free to talk about what people believe without believing it ourselves. So buckle in and prepare to have a good time.
Okay, so I wrote a lot of this episode and did the research on it, and I have two main sources. The first one is called Antichrist, the Vatican, and the Alien CERN Delusion.
Sounds legit.
That's a great title.
A quick excerpt from this book, like describing what it's all about. Quote, as this book was released, the United States Department of Defense announced a new UFO task force to find and identify UFO activity in restricted areas, and NASA hired a priest to prepare humanity to welcome alien contact.
Awesome.
This book reveals the identity of the beings behind the UFOs, their connection to the Vatican and CERN, and the plans they have for humanity in the days ahead. Cue spooky music.
Ooh-wee-oo.
Wee-oo.
All right, and the next book I liked a little bit more, a little bit less bias, still biased as hell. It's called Abaddon Ascending, and here's a quick description of what it's all about. Quote,
We plan to open a portal into an extra dimension. Out of this door might come something unknown. CERN is easily one of the most secretive organizations of our times, with controversy and conspiracy theories abounding. It takes specialized researchers to weed through the lies in order to find the truth. But sometimes, truth is stranger and far scarier than fiction. This is where internationally celebrated investigative researcher Dr. Thomas R. Horn and Into the Multiverse television host Josh Peck arrived to expose the reality of a plan so nefarious that it involves not only the history of Apollyon, Abaddon, but his near-future fulfillment of biblical prophecy and entrance into the world. Our powerful occultists from the highest levels of governments, science, and academia to the lowest echelons of modern witchcraft, even now invoking the arrival of this destroyer and his legions from the abyss.
Yes.
end quote.
So these are the people that think D&D is a satanic ritual.
Yep.
Satan.
I mean, it kind of is, but not in a bad way.
Well, Abaddon's misunderstood. What it comes down to is there's a right way to practice Christianity and there's a wrong way to practice Christianity. And the wrong way sees demons everywhere.
The
Yeah.
wrong way has Satan.
Anyway, that's still very interesting, so we should still check it out because it's spooky and it's got a lot of fascinating things to say.
I am down for this ride.
It's funny saying CERN is super secretive when you can literally go on their website and see exactly what the machine is doing at any given moment and watch it and its data in real time.
So what is CERN?
Established in 1952, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN for short, is the largest particle physics laboratory in the world and is based in Geneva along the border shared between France and Switzerland. CERN is an intergovernmental association composed of 23 different national governments, with Israel the only non-European state being admitted as late as 2013. CERN began inside the University of Copenhagen under the direction of Niels Bohr when it was known by its French title, Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire,
Close enough.
which is where the popular acronym CERN is from and has been maintained even though its name has been updated and the laboratory moved to Geneva in 1954.
Niels Bohr, he was born in 1885 and died 1962, was a Danish scientist and Nobel Peace Prize winner for his research into the atomic theory and the smaller components of particle physics. He was a part of this original CERN group. He was a founding pioneer of modern particle physics, supersymmetry theory, and even string theory. He is the first scientist to acknowledge the dualistic properties of the electron and photon as being able to change physical states, densities, and kinetic energy, while at the same time occupying a probability space in which the energy and by proxy location of a particle could be measured, or the vector, the speed and direction of movement, could be measured. One or the other, not both. This is where the terms electron orbit, valence electron shell, or electron cloud is from when you study classic atomic physics. This is known as the Bohr model of the atom, and the modern idea of a photon as both a wave and a particle at the same time is thanks to this idea as well. So he was basically the father of these higher aspects of nuclear physics in which CERN was founded to actually study and pick apart.
So he's pretty much the first guy to explain the positive vibes of the universe, right? In a literal way.
The things that determine how mass is and how it interacts and what it is as an element, as an atom, there are smaller components to the atom. Niels Bohr is the first scientist to actually start to study and prove that there were smaller components making up these particles that we were talking about, like neutrons, protons, and electrons.
Originally, CERN was dedicated to the study of atomic nuclei, but over time became known for its interest in high-energy physics, which, as we will discuss, is directed towards forcefully breaking said atoms into subatomic particles, its smaller constituent parts. This is achieved through particle acceleration, which is essentially shooting particles into each other at near relativistic speeds and using sensitive equipment to analyze the debris from the resulting collision, like crashing Hot Wheels together. Typically, when somebody says CERN, they are referring to these particle accelerator devices, the largest of which exists in and around the Geneva headquarters and is known as the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC for short. But what is a Large Hadron Collider exactly? Contained within a circular tunnel beneath 164 and 574 feet underground, the Large Hadron Collider is 16.6 miles in circumference and crosses the border between Switzerland and France 4 times. The difference in height is due to sections of its track running under the Jura Mountains, its depth both shielding it from background radiation and leaving the most expensive real estate above ground untouched for private ownership, like farmland, which is not associated or owned by CERN. When operational, the device draws 120 megawatts of energy from the French power grid, which is about equal to a third of the power used by the entire city of Geneva, or what roughly 100,000 normal-sized households consume in 1 year. At the heart of the tunnel are 2 rings, only a few centimeters in diameter, that run the length of the track and flow in opposite directions, overlapping in 4 places where the collision detection equipment measures the outcome of the experiments. These small rings are evacuated by an ultra-high vacuum system, which creates a void inside the tubes emptier than deep space. The particles inside the beam tubes are directed by the world's longest superconducting copper-clad niobium titanium magnets, which, in order to operate at peak efficiency, are cooled to temperatures within 2 degrees of absolute zero.
Jeez.
So absolute zero meaning
On the Kelvin scale, as in that is the slowest that we can observe these particles. That's the slowest you can slow them down.
Because they're cold, so cold. They move, the particles even start to orbit differently.
Because that's what heat is, it's vibration, and so it's still as they can make these atoms sit. And this is achieved using 96 tons of superfluid helium-4, making the LHC, in fact, the largest cryogenic facility on the planet. It's this extreme cold temperature that allows the particle accelerator beams to accelerate objects, the tiny particles, 99.999% the speed of light, generating 6.5 tera electron volts of energy per proton. How much is 6.5 tera electron volts, you may ask? Frankly, I found this question difficult to answer, but according to artificial intelligence, it's somewhere between a bullet being fired from a gun, a flash of lightning, a cruise ship moving at 33 miles per hour, or a commercial airliner moving at cruising speed.
ChatGPT is like, it's fast. It's really fast.
That's pretty much what it said. It's a lot of energy. It's somewhere between a mosquito flying at full speed and an F1 car.
This is proving, though, Einstein's theory of general relativity that if you accelerate a mass close to the speed of light, it will start to generate energy, as in light or heat. It'll radiate energy. So that's where the 6.5 tera electrons is coming from, is just the speed of pushing a proton that fast.
And it's interesting because it reflects this idea of his that you can't get something that has mass to go the speed of light. These particles go so close to the speed of light, it's described that a person doing a very slow jog, if you added that much speed to it, it would be the speed of light. but because of relativity, you need an infinite amount more of energy to speed something up towards the speed of light, which is why the facility is so huge, why it requires so much energy, because they have pushed it really close, but you can't push it all the way.
Right. And while this event might sound pretty exotic, and it is, it's often not said enough in the conspiracy side of this discussion about what this machine is doing. It's not said enough in those circles that this phenomenon actually happens in nature all the time, in the cosmos and even on Earth. This machine is just doing it in a void, like emptier than space, so that they can get an accurate measuring, scope on what happens and what does that mean for reality. They're trying to just get data off of the fragments of information that are essentially blasted off of this collision happening.
A little bit like trying to trap the lightning in a jar and then putting a check engine light sensor in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm bringing that up because it takes some of the scariness of this machine away, since this happens in reality all the time, and we're not living in a destroyed universe. Or are we, I guess? That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, like Malachor was saying, it's really much more precise this way to measure it, and that the particles are safely obscured from background radiation or interference being buried in the earth. That provides an insulation to some extent. High energy experiments are best conducted where there is more insulation and an ability to create vacuum-like effects that these kind of natural collisions would occur in, say in the cosmos, like you said. Even in the earth, there are perturbations in the environment, like when it's buried, like it's going to pick up earthquakes and stuff. So CERN uses highly energized electromagnets to isolate the track and chambers in which the collisions happen, so that the sensors can pick up even the most minute traces of energy and mass that come out of it. So it's not only just being cold, it also is electromagnetically charged. It's like the Lev trains that use electromagnetic energy to lift off the tracks. You create less friction, less interference. It is kind of like smashing pebbles against each other and then looking at the shards on the ground and trying to categorize everything and make rules out of it in the most basic situation. And when you have rules that you have founded in a vacuum, in a void with no interference, that's part of what scientific study is about, is observing in that kind of environment. And then when there are other perturbations in the environment, you can extrapolate from the basic data and figure out what is causing the effect that you're studying.
Speaking of data, the Large Hadron Collider produces about 140 terabytes of data per day of use and requires a worldwide grid of various computer centers to analyze it.
According to Wikipedia, by 2012, data from over 300 trillion LHC proton-proton collisions had been analyzed, and LHC collision data was being produced at approximately 25 petabytes per year. As of 2017, the LHC computing grid is the world's largest computing grid, comprising of over 170 computing facilities in a worldwide network across 42 countries. So you can imagine the energy and the time and the processing power that takes to produce this experiment.
It's just like a tower of computer labs spread out across the whole Earth it takes to analyze these little tiny collisions.
Digital Babylon.
In fact, the World Wide Web itself was originally conceived and developed at CERN to help facilitate and share data between scientists and universities from all over the world. Likewise, because the facility itself is so enormous, a network of computers is required to operate the machinery from a central hub, which makes JPL's Mission Control look like a Counter-Strike LAN party from the mid-90s. For these reasons, recently, CERN has become a facility for the continued development of grid computing, which explains why, as of 2022, the number of engineers and technicians outnumber the physicist researchers 10 to 1. Also, because of the war in Ukraine, they're firing all their Russian scientists. It's kind of fun.
Aww.
It's like 10% of their workforce or something. The Large Hadron Collider first started up on the 10th of September 2008, which I thought interestingly was 1098, and still is the latest addition to the Collider family, replacing the Large Electron Positron Collider, which was housed in the same tunnel system. The operative idea being the bigger and more powerful the collider, the further scientists are able to penetrate into the fundamental nature of material universe and directly observe states of matter and energy which were thought to exist in the extremely brief moments after the Big Bang. According to the Big Bang theory, absolutely everything we know today expanded from an infinitely small point, which, due to its compactness and density, was unthinkably hot and likewise composed of particles which ceased to exist as the universe expanded and cooled.
And if you do not know what particles are, they are microscopic elements that are the building blocks of literally everything in existence, everything in the universe. And subatomic particles are even smaller. In fact, the closer we look, the more we realize there's more to the puzzle. And the smaller things get, the more there is, ironically.
Like I was saying earlier, when the original atomic theory was broken down even further by Niels Bohr, quarks and even gluons later were discovered, and these particles are at an even lower scale or octave than the most early discoveries, such as the proton, neutron, and electron.
So what you're telling me is that the Big Bang saying at some infinitely small point, it was just a bunch of these little particles just smashing against each other until it made all of existence.
Not really. This was so compact and hot that these particles did not exist yet. They had like ancestor particles that were trying to reproduce in the LHC.
The quarks and gluons were probably most primary in that hot liquid stage. And then as it cooled, it developed the particles we're familiar with, the atomic particles. And then the atoms cooled and condensed into elements. And then the elements cooled and they combined with each other and condensed into matter as we know it.
And that's why it's called the periodic table.
There was a point before everything expanded and cooled to a certain extent where it was so packed together, all this electronic soup, that photons could not move or escape. It was nothing, black, dark. There was no light yet. And to get our heads wrapped around that sort of existence, we have to create something of immense heat and pressure, even in a very tiny scale, just to get a glimpse of it, essentially.
And I guess that would be Kether. Okay, that's it.
And so this means, in some sense, the LHC is a sort of time machine that allows us to look far back into the past and observe the ancestors of the particles we're made of and use today. Well, this might sound a bit silly or obscure to some. CERN's experiments have made a number of mind-blowing discoveries which justify all the expensive, complicated, hard work it does.
Or it could be a time machine in and of itself. Think about how much energy circulates in that ring and how fast. I mean, wouldn't something at the center of the ring be affected by it?
Who knows? It's farmland.
There's been some stuff.
We'll talk about that.
Just some time-traveling cow grazing all the good grass across time.
Now, if you could shrink yourself down and sit on one of those particles going as fast as they make them go, the way relativity works is that for every second you spend zooming along in that particle, 2 hours of time would elapse for just the normal people sitting around in the lab. So it really does bend space and time with how much energy it's messing with. As far as teleporting cows, well, we'll see what some of our sources have to say. Before we get into that, though, it'd be good to talk about some of CERN's discoveries, the ones documented by mainstream science. Some of these discoveries include neutral currents and W and Z bosons, which helped us learn about the 4 fundamental forces: electromagnetism, the strong, the weak, and gravitational force can be reverted back into a unity at high enough temperature. And so we have been able to identify force-carrying particles from those fundamental forces before they split off from each other, which indicates that they all came from one branch at some point. We kind of knew about a lot of this stuff from math, but it was the LHC which allowed us to actually observe these things in experiments. Other discoveries include a number of different light neutrinos, direct CP violation, which sounds much worse than it is, quark-gluon plasma, and the discovery and isolation and even maintenance of anti-hydrogen, which is a form of antimatter that was just a theory and not a fact until the collider discovered it.
So far, the most significant discovery of the Large Hadron Collider is the discovery of something called the God particle, or the Higgs boson, a whole new particle we didn't even know existed before. The God particle is a field that goes through all matter subtly, connecting everything at once. It's basically Nikola Tesla's ether, which they probably should have given him credit for.
Yeah!
A lot like Star Wars, doesn't it?
The Force.
Yeah, it binds us, unites the galaxy together.
Go figure, it also sounds a lot like Higgs from Death Stranding, which uses a lot of these ideas for its world building.
The universe comprises energy, dark energy, matter, dark matter, and antimatter. The matter we see and touch just makes up a small portion of existence. These particles vibrate differently, creating patterns. Some manifest us in our existence. Particles only gain mass by how they interact with the field.
The more strongly a particle interacts with this Higgs field, the more mass mass it is given. A Higgs boson is said to be produced when the Higgs field interacts with itself and makes a noticeably heavier particle than all the others, which scientists were able to predict using math before observing it through sensors in the LHC.
Likewise, that lines up with the predictions, lighter particles like photons and electrons appear to have little to no mass. They are not as affected by the Higgs field.
Photons and gluons have no mass.
This field goes through everything and is part of everything. The cells that make up your body really only manifest in the design that they interact with the field.
Yeah, and hadrons themselves are defined as any particle that is comprised of two or more quarks, which is a type of subatomic particle, that are held together by the strong force. And that's the force that holds protons and neutrons together, both individually and in the nucleus of atoms. Gluons are a similar particle, but they are associated with the energy rather than the mass. When the particles collide in the LHC, the quarks and gluons are freed, and the strong energy is released in a burst of energy, in which a series of other complementary subatomic particles appear and decay over time, a short amount of time, by the way, meaning energy is converted into matter and vice versa during the experiments.
If I'm not mistaken, this is why their experiments have been able to add a couple things onto the periodic table, even if they only exist temporarily.
Yes, it's part of the technology that they're using is to, with the temperature and the electromagnetic radiation is used to isolate it so that we have time to observe these things. Because in normal, everyday, natural occurrences, they disappear so quickly that there's no time to measure it or actually observe the particle.
And that's what you would call its half-life, right? Like the time that it has to exist as a particle, right?
Yes, but we're pushing the boundaries with this machine of what we can actually observe. And we're not even in elements at this point. Elements are stable, like atoms that have come together after a collision. But we're talking about the particles that come out of the collision, and those don't last very long. I mean, they've even observed dark matter and antimatter that, whatever we thought that there's a particle of that. No, it's some kind of weird energy that comes out of it, but it dissipates so quickly it's hard to measure.
CERN discovered that nothing exists without the Higgs field, and it falls behind the veil of perceptible reality. Sounds similar to stuff said in esoteric circles since the dawn of history, so it's good that science finally caught up, huh, guys?
Yeah, kind of like the ether. It's the same shit they're talking about.
From a certain point of view, that literally is the same idea that's been around for a long time, just in subjective ways through cultural filters. I mean, you find the same things, the same ideas in Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. So, interestingly, ancient spiritual wisdom actually aligns with modern science. Don't tell the scientists that, though. It really pisses them off. They hate that the particle was named the God particle. And I mean, really, really, really hate it.
Well, not all of them hated it. Some of them, like Carl Sagan, said that science and spirituality shouldn't be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, but it was sensationalized to the point where people thought God was proven to be real. The only reason it was called the God particle is because it proved that there was a field. There was a field that was at every point in the universe, and that is part of the quantum physics, where they were verified that, particles pop in and out of existence. And how is that possible? There's a Higgs field.
It does warrant some suspicion that this Higgs field is everywhere present and completely and totally uniform. Not many things in the universe are like that.
Yeah, it's omniscient, basically. If it were conscious, it would be omniscient.
I think if they hate God so much, they shouldn't be so sprung on the Big Bang being true, but that's just me.
Well, if this field literally is connected to everything, it comes with a lot of dangers, because with the discovery came a warning from none other than Stephen Hawking. And this was just before his death. He said that messing with the field could actually cause events that would lead to a vacuum collapse of the universe.
Oops.
Yeah, not only did they discover the God particle, but they also could have discovered how to destroy the universe.
To be fair, we were not entirely certain that testing the first atomic bomb would not ignite the ionosphere and cause a chain reaction that resulted in the planet blowing up. I think these concerns are somewhat valid, but science tends to advance by ignoring them, and this has long been the case in history.
Nature loves to play around, find out.
Yeah, it does. And with such a famous and well-known laboratory responsible for so many scientific discoveries, it's no wonder that many worldwide have had questions about CERN for decades. It is a source of many conspiracy theories that have consistently pissed off the scientific community and put countless people in constant paranoia. Not kidding, this shit drives people nuts. However, the actual eruptions of conspiracies surrounding CERN didn't occur until the activation of the Large Hadron Collider. At the time, many claimed it would be the end of the world and it was all going to end imminently. These ideas surrounding how the collider could eradicate Earth are myriad, but they have some interesting ideas about them, such as ranging from opening portals to hell itself to fracturing space-time itself. So we're basically like creating the Doom franchise in a way.
Like a tear in reality or something.
Stephen Hawking's made it sound like you would change a value on the computer and it would cause the entire thing to crash, is kind of what he was saying, right? By like messing with the Higgs boson. It's like, if you mess with that, you could destabilize the whole thing.
Interesting that you bring up Hawking because he's really intertwined with the black hole theory. And I think that's why there was an idea of like, this would create a mini black hole that would be formed out of the particle collisions, and it would voraciously consume everything around it in the fraction of a second, destroying the world as we know it. Now we know from experimentation that these quantum-sized vortexes have to do with antimatter annihilating. And once the subatomic particles annihilate, there is no more threat. These can't grow into a black hole without heat, pressure, and energy being compressed as well.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, black holes are made by like collapsed stars.
It has to be a lot at once. So we're only doing protons, like we're doing small particles. So yeah, and that's where it begins to get interesting, as this could be a key to accessing what Nikola Tesla described as 0-point energy, or us gaining the ability to cut through space-time and access and even channel an infinite amount of energy for less cost. But however, right now, if you look at CERN, the costs that go into manufacturing these experiments and learning from them far outweighs the energy that is generated by the experiments themselves. So we've got a lot to learn.
Some religious groups resist CERN because they consider this analogous to the Tower of Babel, like humans playing God, humans messing with stuff that they were never meant to mess with, humans getting knowledge they were never meant to have, etc.
To be fair, it is a bit like the idea behind the Tower of Babel because it is elevating human understanding to the pinnacle or beginning of creation.
Yeah, they're not wrong in their concerns, but they're not right either. Religious groups also think the Hadron Collider is opening up portals to hell. They consider CERN employees basically similar to mad scientists from some Lovecraftian horror story.
Now, this just sounds like the plot of Half-Life and their whole resonance cascade event that happens at Black Mesa, that laboratory. They're literally like working with technology that builds portals into like an alternate dimension so they can get like these crystals out and use them as energy resources. But they end up getting invaded by this species called Vortigaunts, which sounds like a Lovecraft monster. And there's Shalulathoi and all the fucking crazy names that they use. I don't know. I think all these people who make these conspiracies play too much Half-Life and are scared of a resonance cascade event.
I don't know. I'm pretty worried about astral portals being opened to entities that are beyond our comprehension, driving us all into eldritch madness. But as Luke mentioned earlier, the first beam of the Hadron Collider happened on September 10th, 2008, but the first legitimate collisions of subatomic particles didn't occur until 2010.
The magnets got hot, blew out the vacuum seal, and vented a bunch of helium. Apparently, it was a real mess and took some time to fix.
I remember that.
Some people say that the collider didn't start until 2012, but this is actually just a misunderstanding. The Atlas and CMS experiments didn't begin until 2012. Basically up and running before then, doing a bunch of weird stuff. However, when you think of all like the reality destroying experiments behind all these conspiracy theories and things that people like to talk about, that did start in 2012. Oddly to some people who believe in biblical prophecy, a trumpet-like sound occurred worldwide when the collider was turned on. I guess they look at it as like one of the seals being broken in the biblical prophecy in the book of Revelation because, you know, the trumpet's being blown. There are some excellent videos out there on this alleged trumpet-like sound heard worldwide. And these horn hums, like they allegedly have all kinds of side effects, like allegedly causing nausea, sleeplessness, and horrific nightmares, which is pretty creepy. As the story goes, these sky trumpets all originated from CERN and was the sign of the end times beginning.
See, I remember this because all over there were videos being posted of people hearing these blaring sounds.
When the collider was having issues getting built up and good to go into 2000s, conspiracy theories already started all the way back then, saying that a time traveler from the future had come back to sabotage the project, and he even used a time-traveling bird with a baguette for the sabotage.
What does that even mean?
Trust me, they really said this.
Apparently, a bird carrying a piece of baguette dropped the bread onto some sensitive equipment. The problem is, all that stuff's like 100 feet underground, so I don't know.
What?
Yeah, it's I don't know about that one, but the story's interesting. In 2008, tragically, a young girl named Chea in India took her own life after watching all the hyped up stuff of the Hadron Collider and how things could go wrong, the media doing what it does. All this fear was installed in her. It frightened her so badly that she decided to end it all rather than face the possible horror that was going to happen when the machine was turned on. Tragic. But you see how far back these conspiracies go that many people find incredibly terrifying, and it's caused a lot of mental illness, to say the least. There also quickly came about a whole religious side to the conspiracies about CERN and the Collider, like I've already briefly mentioned, with some claiming that the Collider is fallen angel technology, and they're trying to recreate the Big Bang, which was the moment that Satan and his angels were cast out of heaven.
I don't know if I believe it, but I really like this theory.
Intelligent minds can think about ideas without accepting them or denying them. I enjoy this theory as well.
It technically does recreate the Big Bang, but in very small, fun-sized portions.
It reminds me of, when you're at Costco and they have those little booths with like just a tiny little bite of something that you can buy in bulk. That's the small bite-sized portions Lucas said.
That's like what they make at CERN if the Big Bang were a cheese wheel the size of Calcutta.
Another early conspiracy theory is that the collider was made using Nikola Tesla's lost invention, the earthquake machine, and was responsible for a series of unusual earthquakes across the planet. But why would there be so much fear surrounding the collider even before it was fully built? That's because theorists have said that it could destroy the planet and the universe. Bold claims, right? But it's basically media hyping a lot of this stuff up. But there have been multiple lawsuits trying to shut down CERN over human rights violations because the Hadron Collider is actually pretty dangerous. All these fantastical stories of what could go wrong and all the destruction made a lot of people worried, so they tried to shut this stuff down legally. However, these lawsuits revealed something very interesting about CERN. CERN is a sovereign entity outside the jurisdiction of the courts, and the courts weren't going to do anything about CERN, no matter how many lawsuits were filed.
Is this because it's an international organization, basically?
Yes, dangerous experiments from a group outside the law and can't be held accountable for anything wrong from their work.
Who do you think those people were?
Yeah, it's pretty unnerving and worthy of fear. So many people have rightfully got even more paranoid towards it when they realized that they couldn't do anything according to the law to inhibit CERN in any way. So they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's scary.
Right? They're unaccountable for anything. They could just blow up an entire city. So, oh, whoops, nobody can do anything.
I don't honestly think the machine has that capability. I read that they're not even sure if quantum black holes even exist.
No, they've been observed, but they dissipate quickly. You can't stabilize it for some reason.
Although it is pretty cool, they got anti-hydrogen to exist for 15 minutes before it dissipated or whatever.
So these people messing with black holes and the fabric of reality have actually admitted that they're 95% ignorant of how all these things actually work. It's a lot of just trial and error. And when you're playing trial and error with things that could destroy the universe, that's just a massive yikes for a lot of people. And they don't have any fear of any consequences. They can just do whatever they want outside the law. And like so many things, the surface level presentation is usually ingenuous when it comes to these establishment, megacorporation, elite funded organizations. I mean, I'm not trying to get too tinfoil hat, although I'm wearing one. These people are going to tell the public what's best for their own image.
It's still a hierarchy at the end of the day. It's still an organization. It's still a bureaucracy.
And many people believe that there's secret projects going on at CERN, hidden from the public, and even most of Europe's military and government officials have no idea what these possible secret experiments could be. It's hidden from them too. These black budget projects are nothing new to the United States for anybody in the know. So it makes sense that there would also be these types of secret experiments going on over there.
To be fair, from a skeptical perspective, it would be incredibly difficult to know with absolute certainty what is going on at CERN if it is precisely as what it's claimed to be. It's definitely a big underground facility with a lot of computers.
And you might think that people saying the Large Hadron Collider could destroy the universe is kind of an extreme thing to say, like Mal was saying, but black holes are pretty much a bad thing for living people.
In
Yeah.
case you didn't know, is
It's
bad.
pretty nasty for us if things go sideways. And if they admit to playing with artificial black holes, which they have, then who knows what they aren't telling us.
Yeah, possibly using it to traveling between times or dimensions, or even opening a portal and summoning other hyperdimensional beings. We don't know what they're doing.
Black holes are bad, okay?
Funyuns are bad for living things, but I'm not giving those up either.
Okay, but also, who are we to say that black holes don't ultimately end up with a white hole?
That's deep.
That's racist.
No, it's not. What is the Big Bang? It's a point of energy that explodes out in one moment. What are black holes? They're vortices that pull matter in and energy.
I thought it was more romantic and, unifying.
It is, though. It's the same thing.
If people would only look to the cookie, all our problems would be solved.
But like the black hole sucking stuff in and destroying it could be the process of creating something new. So you don't know what it is yet.
But the opposite of a black hole is just a star.
A white hole is more than that.
The opposite of a black hole would be the other side of it.
Hawking predicted that too, so.
That's a white hole. I was making jokes. Like, the idea is a black hole, it sucks in, and then it's like shooting it out somewhere out there, and that's a white hole.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like a dimensional rift.
Yeah.
Right, but when it collects information, it might not be destroyed, and that's what Hawking proved with his theorem.
As above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody is shouting wrong hole.
I never do.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, is that right?
One of the main things that those in the know actually are aware of about CERN is its bizarre symbolism. The supposedly secular scientists use Shiva, the destroyer, as their mascot of all things, the Hindu god that can deconstruct the universe. Shiva the destroyer is also analogous to Abaddon, the destroyer, in the book Abaddon Ascending. Shiva does a cosmic dance in Hindu lore, and this hidden dance is supposed to manifest reality. To scientists, they say that this cosmic dance is analogous to subatomic particles performing a secret dance behind the scenes that literally manifest material matter. So, there is an excellent reason to have Shiva as a symbol of CERN, despite what some hardcore Christians may say. But it's still pretty bizarre for scientists, I have to admit.
Have y'all heard of the rocketry program? Like, all those things are named after gods. All of them.
I was just going to say, how can the same people that are all like, boo, they called it the God particle because God, how can those be the same people as like, hey, look, Shiva? This summarizes what we're doing pretty well.
Because they hate Christians.
Yeah, it's the religion they don't hate.
Satan, that's because they're Satanists, and that's why they want y'all to watch the Harry Potter and get your kids indoctrinated into having 20 million genders to manifest the devil. I'm kind of offended. Shiva is the destroyer who has the ability to kill the forces of darkness. This makes sense for a few reasons. Firstly, CERN's entire gimmick is destroying things in order to eliminate the darkness of ignorance and see the unity behind all things, which is the Shiva Darshana, the unity behind all things. And that is what destroys the universe, is realizing that there is no separation between everything. It's all connected. So the LHC does have Shiva energy going on. I just don't think it's satanic. That's just me.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you.
It's part of the whole. Like, it's true. You have to destroy, you have to break things apart into their constituent matter in order to create inside a closed system. If you can't make more, like if you're not in creative mode in Minecraft and you can generate blocks, you have to go get those blocks from somewhere. You have to destroy the block and bring it back and build something. Such as our universe. Every beginning of something comes from something else's end.
This actually ties in really well to what we were talking about with the division and the sword of the Lover's card.
Yes.
Yes, it actually does. I mean, technically, you could say that the LHC is a physical, manifest, scientifical version of the energies being explained in the Lover's card. You have a sword, it's dividing things to determine their constituent parts, and in this division, it creates this huge thing of light. But if you want to get into the whole gateway thing, maybe they are opening gateways, because that's a big part of the Lover's card too, so who knows?
You know why Shiva is blue?
Why?
Because he sucks all the poison out of the earth for the good of humanity.
And even after all the stuff that we've already been talking about, we're really only just barely peeking our head inside the rabbit hole. These people have also been accused of using Illuminati symbolism more than once. Also, their primary logo is a swirling design they say is supposed to represent the accelerator chain and the particle track, but it also displays 666.
Yeah, baby.
The mark of the beast from the Book of Revelation. And just why a PR team would give this a thumbs up is anyone's guess, but they were either stupid or it was done intentionally, is all I can think of.
There is quite a bit of 666 in popular logos. It's like the energy drink thing. Like Disney's got a 666 in it. You could argue Taco Bell has it, but it is weird. It is weird that the CERN logo, like the CFR logo, has a 666 in it. It is a bit strange. I'm willing to admit that.
If that bothers you, though, that's okay. Doesn't bother me.
Then again, if you're a science nerd, what is 666? That's the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in carbon. We're carbon-based life forms. Carbon is also what diamonds are made of. With enough heat and pressure, you can turn the black substance of plain old carbon into a diamond. It's a great metaphor for spiritual enlightenment and for hard work, attaining good results. So now we're running a little short on time, but we did prepare a section about the strange ritual that was performed during the opening ceremony of the Goddard Tunnel, which is the longest tunnel on Earth and exists about 140 miles away from CERN. Now, some of our main sources for this episode tried to claim that CERN is the one that held the ceremony, that the Goddard Tunnel was right next to the CERN facility, and as far as I could tell, that's just not true. But what is interesting about it is it's this big infrastructure project that is funded by the elites, and you got a bunch of dudes in black suits sitting there watching the opening ceremony of this tunnel, and to be fair, the occult symbolism in this ceremony makes our Super Bowl look like child's play.
I saw a lady wearing goat horns twerk at one of those business suit dudes with her bum hanging out.
Which is kind of strange. And that was after she got humped by the dude in a suit with a goat mask on.
Yeah, 2 goats.
There's a wall of giant eyes with like scarabs coming down over it.
There's a lady in red, the Scarlet Woman, pregnant, giving birth.
Basically a bunch of weird
Hey,
stuff.
I like the Scarlet Woman.
Yeah, I thought that part was neat.
There were some boobies.
There was some boobies, and there was some not boobies, but implied boobies. Implied nudity.
There was some witchy looking lady carrying a branch, holding a lamb over her head as if it's about to be brought to sacrifice. This is, of course, just technically normal Christian symbolism, but I digress.
Yeah, and like there was actually some workers who perished in creating the tunnel. And it's kind of creepy how they're portrayed during the ritual, and it makes it seem kind of like their souls are being sacrificed to some entity on the mountain or something. It's kind of like what the symbolism is.
I'd be down with that.
If we consider that the Swiss have a long tradition of dressing up in crazy outfits that are a bit spooky looking, if we put that aside, which is something they do, the way they treated the orange-suited workers in the ceremony, as Tim suggested, did seem a bit spooky, considering that some of them died, they were portrayed as like zombies or slaves, and then they turned into ghosts that hump this goat thing. It is a bit much.
Yeah.
That's something that's probably another bad PR move, but you know, who am I to say that? You know, the families of those people who died might enjoy that kind of art. Probably not, though.
Yeah, it sounds like some fucking sacrifice ritual stuff to me.
So there's also a video of a lady being sacrificed in front of CERN, right in front of Shiva.
That's actually at the CERN headquarters.
Yeah. This is just another video like depicting quote unquote occult happenings at CERN. And this makes people say that CERN, or perhaps a hidden group within CERN, are into some pretty dark occult stuff. This video of this girl being ritually sacrificed on CERN grounds at the altar of Shiva, you can go check it out. It's out there. They tried to scrub it off the web a bit, but you know, once something's online, it's always online. Shill Media says it's been debunked as fake, but many times in the mainstream. Debunked is just a code word for a successful cover-up. Decide for yourself. I don't want to tell you what to think. Definitely go check out the video. It seems legitimate though, because like the way the guy is acting, he might be an actor, but it just seems like worth watching and somewhat credible. However, people at CERN say that it was just like employees playing around. It was just joking around, nothing serious.
Even if they weren't actually sacrificing somebody, the fact that they did it at all is like also kind of weird.
Well, here's the thing though, is that you know how we do stage plays and Shakespeare and Broadway and all that? That's the same as movies. It's the same as media. But acting it out and enticing the audience to feel that it has really happened is all you really need to harvest energy from a ritual.
My point is, even if it wasn't an actual person being sacrificed, the fact that it would be played out in dramatic ritual would still be...
It's meaningful.
Something.
Yeah.
I think that it's very offensive to Shiva, and it even got India really pissed off. And CERN's official statement is that they know who did it and they dealt with them accordingly. I understand it as being a prank, and I think that it is very disrespectful to Shiva and the Hindu culture to associate them with human sacrifice and science circles, but that's my opinion.
Just to entertain, like full tinfoil hat, entertain this idea. Just if they were going to do this seriously, they would have a lesser minion do it so that they could be like, the guilty party has been penalized.
Yeah.
That's not a bad argument, actually.
Not a bad argument at all. CERN hinted that it was just a stunt that went wrong and all employees that were involved were fired, but then later said that they don't know who did it and then went back again on their word, what they said, their story, saying that all the employees involved, it was just a prank and they were fired for the prank.
I did not have sex with that woman.
This story switching around is actually a pretty big red flag for any investigator. I don't know if any of you like criminal science, but
I do.
yeah. So when a story changes, it always means that there's something more to that story. Suspects who give mixed stories are always thought to be hiding something, and they're documented for further investigation in criminal science.
Yep. That's why,
So-
like,
Yeah, go on.
like if they were to pull this in a court of law like that, they'd just be hung for it, basically.
It would basically put a spotlight on them.
Yeah.
And there are people in the video that look like they came straight out of like a Lovecraftian story, complete with black robes and weird ritualistic behavior, and use your imagination. That's what was going down. A woman is then like disrobed and she lays down in front of Shiva, and guess what? They stab her with a ritual knife, sacrificing her at CERN headquarters. The guy filming definitely like freaks the hell out at this point, and his like camera goes all shaky and he runs off and the video ends. Pretty trippy stuff. You should definitely go watch the video. I don't know if it's linked here. We should link it here, but definitely go watch the video. Legitimate or not, who knows? But if it's true, then CERN is definitely into some weird, dark, spooky occult stuff. Not the good stuff, the bad stuff.
When I saw the video, the suspension of disbelief evaporated a bit when you could tell that they're just wearing regular high top Nikes and Converse, and their robes have like white shirts underneath. They're not the most high quality cloaks. Like, say what you want about Alex Jones, but if you watch the Goddard Tunnel video, if you watch the Bohemian Grove video, that was some serious dollars and effort put into those rituals. Whatever I saw outside CERN, this dude held the knife like an ice cream cone, and then when he went to stab the chick, who wasn't even naked, give me a break, he pointed it down as if he was like, you know, stabbing the ice cream cone down into her. Like, that's not how you stab somebody. It just didn't have the same level of production as those Moloch people did, you know? It's just missing something.
It's all a
Hey.
movie.
They like gave a $200 budget to their minions and they were like, go shop some costumes on Amazon.
Yes, that's what I'm
Oh.
saying.
Yes.
Get a cheap hooker and you're set.
She wasn't even a cheap hooker. She was just some chick in a white outfit. She looked a bit like how Hecka looks right now. So yeah, hey, we send you back in time. That's what happens right after the show. Sorry.
Sorry about that. So now that we've discovered exactly what cult Malachor 5 is attached to,
Ooh.
some researchers say that the whole point of the Large Hadron Collider is to essentially part the veil and be able to tap into the spirit realm directly. They say the entire thing is about spiritual warfare, and depending on how polarized these researchers are, it includes allowing the return of the old gods, or essentially what a lot of people would consider demons as well. They are trying to find ways to manipulate material matter through the building blocks of reality itself, utilizing power gained from the spiritual realm. However, despite all this crazy stuff, no one notices or questions them because they hide behind a shield of science. They hide behind a shield of false virtue, like so much evil in our world usually does.
Maybe just like a lot of people don't even bother entertaining that this is a possibility because it is a scientific facility and they immediately separate that from any kind of occult or spiritual connection.
The herd ridicule is a huge weapon as well. Like, oh, you question science? You question these scientists?
Well, they prosecuted Jesus, remember? So, you know, in your accusation, you sanctify people at the same time if you don't try to understand. That's all I'm going to say.
Keep defending your cult. We get it. Cool. So some researchers also say that you should switch the word black hole to stargates, and that it's all just like wordplay and not to be taken at face value when discussing experimenting with black holes and all that. Just switch it out with stargates, which I like. I like that weird alien crap.
I'd rather say it's a Stargate or a portal more than a black hole.
I'm down.
Definitely.
And it's oddly accurate because certain employees have referenced these things as like Stargate in their experiments on the official record. But according to these theorists, the ones that I'm getting all this research from, the 2 books I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, what the CERN people say and what they mean are 2 very different things, and you have to read between the lines. They say these black hole experiments have zero to do with outer space. These researchers, not the scientists. And actually, what they are saying basically, without actually saying it, is that they're tapping into the spiritual realm through artificial portals. Pretty wild, right?
Whoa.
Well, that's like Half-Life. You know, they were getting the Zen crystals from the other side of the portal.
Totally. They want to make these openings to spiritual dimensions. We've all seen these plots in movies for decades, and allegedly having movies on this stuff is actually the whole point. You see, there's definitely many different paradigms and ways to look at the occult. In the version that these people are coming from, they're saying that there are specific rules and laws you have to follow if you're using black magic. And one of those is if you're manipulating people through occult means, then a lot of times you actually have to get like a metaphorical, quote unquote, okay from the victim, as in permission.
It's typically mentioned as like, that's what they call revelation of the method.
Yeah. Now, this permission does not have to be obvious. And in fact, it's rarely obvious. It's almost always directed at the subconscious or obfuscated in some way. It's never direct.
Pay $0 down with 25% interest later.
So are you basically saying they need some form of consent, but that they don't have to give the full information to that person? So it doesn't have to be informed
Yes.
consent.
You have to be open about it and present it to the victim, and the victim has to acknowledge it and go along with it. But it isn't obvious a lot of the time. Sometimes it is. I don't know.
It's like
Most of the time it's not.
Some Bloodborne, you know, your eyes have yet to open moments.
According to some theorists, usually the Christian fundamentalist or flat earth variety, one can give permission to be abused, hurt, mistreated, or even worse, simply by eating the meat of an animal tortured or abused. So people who eat tortured animals, like used to be the standard practice for many fast food restaurants, especially all throughout the 90s, early 2000s. You ever ate fast food? Guess what? According to these people, you agree to your own abuse.
In theory, they could just make sure to feed you a cheeseburger from McDonald's beforehand, and then they already have consent.
Yes, they can do horrible things to you and get away with it on a karmic level, big macrocosm, microcosm, all that good stuff. Boom, bingo, they win the lottery. It's symbolism, it's metaphor, and there's no karma attached to them. Like if there's any big judgment in the sky, heavenly order of things, karma, whatever you want to, you know, everybody's got their different ideas of how to look at this stuff. They don't have any repercussions because you agreed to it. There's no karmic debt for health issues you may get from like eating horrible food, you know, getting cancer, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It spirals way more profound than that as well, and even darker and more malevolent.
So are you saying that halal and kosher meat preparation is a contract for my soul?
Yes,
Only because you're a furry.
yes.
Ah,
All furries go to hell. We know this.
no. They're animals that we eat.
Right, Sif? You better be listening to this, you bastard. Anyway,
Oh,
these contracts are even formed from simply watching movies, allegedly. You just watching a movie, if you accept it in your subconscious, guess what? Boom, bada bing, bam, boom.
So I'm one step ahead because I've already played Half-Life and I know what's going to happen. Huh.
Yes, we know you're a part of the cult. God, quit bragging.
Well, it's because we watched these movies, right, with time travel and stuff. They're getting us ready through entertainment to accept the reality that they're going to reveal to us one day.
Soylent
Exactly.
Green is people.
There is probably a little bit of truth to this idea. For instance, we all grew up watching 80s dystopian movies, and now we're living in an 80s dystopia. It's because your subconscious mind doesn't really say no, even if your conscious mind is. You get the input, and then it manifests out through your subconscious decisions and ideas, and like, it is true to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, and if you know, like we know a lot about the occult, then there's a lot more to this than we don't have time to go into detail about. But according to these researchers, by watching these movies and going along with whatever subtle stuff is happening subconsciously, you are actually agreeing to them, somehow signing some hidden contract. The people who wrote these 2 books that I organized a lot of these ideas around, they say that people are having spells being cast on them by watching these movies, agreeing to secret agreements and opening spiritual doors to them. A form of spiritual warfare, which Christians love to say. These ideas do get pretty damn esoteric, I must say. The movie Interstellar is often referenced, or even, you know, the Stargate films, even the Marvel universe is thrown in there. So the people who have researched all this this CERN stuff and come up with many of their theories have fallen into a black hole of rabbit holes that seems unending.
Black rabbit holes?
Yeah, and of course, these conspiracy theories about CERN are also associated with the New World Order. Cue creepy music.
Dun dun dun!
But if you'd like to hear more, specifically about CERN's tarot deck, creating new realities, which reference my favorite topic, Mandela Effects, Lovecraftian portals, ancient gods, the resurrection of Osiris, and even, of course, some quotes by Aleister Crowley, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you the rest of this show in its uncensored extended format, you'll get access to all of our shows going back over 3 years. I'll send you a 5x5 vinyl sticker of our cover art, which is guaranteed to open the space-time fabric, non-locality dimensional portal to devil hookers. You'll even get instantaneous access to our Discord server, where you can talk to us about the Large Hadron Collider, the Small Hadron Collider, and everything in between.
Visit Cryptic Chronicles.
CrypticChronicles.com.
Come listen to my stuff. I got my tinfoil hats, half price. Get them while they last. CrypticChronicles.com.
Thank you, everybody. Eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Trying to do the pew pew pew. Sorry, I ruined yours.
No, please do it.